Good evening, Internet. Welcome back to another night of Talks About Stuff for probably far too long. I'm That's all just over my shoulder. Tonight we're going to be talking about Hokum. This is the newest movie from Damian McCarthy. I have not seen Caveat and Oddity, but after seeing Hokum, I'm probably going to watch those soon. I liked this movie a lot. If you are a fan of psychological and supernatural horror, which if you're in my audience, you probably are, I would highly recommend at least checking this out when it comes to streaming. If not, go see it in theaters. I enjoyed myself a lot. I was kind of the first act didn't hook me very much. I was kind of worried at the end of the first act, but then it got into the second act. It started getting into like the meat of the actual movie, and I really found myself drawn in, and I found myself really enjoying it. Um, it is genre fiction. It is not elevated fiction. If you're looking for like It Follows or The Witch or something like that, it's not that. It's not the A24 like wide shots, slow panning, slow pacing, all that stuff. It is very genre fiction. It's like if somebody saw the Conjuring movies and was like, I could make a better horror movie than that, and then went and did it. But yeah, I still found myself like enjoying it and getting drawn in. Um, I'm going to go through the first act like I usually do. I'm not going to talk about spoilers up until I get into the second act. I will give you guys a warning before I get into spoilers, but I just wanted to give you guys the setup. From the trailers, it kind of looked like 1408 by Stephen King, which came out the same year as the first Silent Hill movie. I remember talking about that, or it came out the year after the first Silent Hill movie. I remember talking about that in my video essay. The trailer made it look very much like 1408, and I don't think that's a fair comparison. It is a hotel ghost story with a witch in it. But the first act, we're introduced to the main character, who is Bauman, who is played by Adam Scott. I've liked Scott's acting in Parks and Rec and Severance. I think that he does the slightly abrasive, um, the the character who is like too sharp for his own good. He's always cutting other people, even when he's not trying to. I think he does really well with the material that he's given. Ohm is an author. He is writing a trilogy of books called the Conquistador Trilogy. He is approaching the ending. The ending that he has in mind is very bleak. It is the one of those scenarios where like the two characters are pushed towards one fate, and he has this very bleak ending in mind, and he is writing towards it, and he sees a figure on the stairs, and he tilts his light up. There's no figure there, and he tilts his light back, and there's an apparition over his shoulder. The intro, it snaps from the apparition over his shoulder to him standing over a box of goods, something that he's probably kept in his attic or in storage for a while. It's a box of his parents' old belongings, and their ashes are up on the mantelpiece. And he decides that he's going to take their ashes to the hotel where they spent their honeymoon. So it flashes to him in Ireland going to this hotel that his parents stayed in on their honeymoon. But when he gets there, he finds that the honeymoon suite itself has been locked up. There's a gate over it. The only way in and out of it is this elevator, which is kept secure by this gate. The owner of the hotel, Cobb, he is not wanting anybody to go in. So he keeps the key on his person at all times. Cobb's son-in-law is the manager of the hotel. He is the one who checks in Ohm Bauman. Mal is the one running the desk. Ohm is like, can you put me somewhere that's not close to the celebrations, the Halloween celebrations? And he's like, sure, I'll put you in a room that's like very far away. So Ohm is looking for his room. He goes to the place where it should be, but it's not there. Another server from the hotel walks up. Her name is Fiona. She is like, "Are you lost?" And he was like, "Well, what does it look like? I'm just wandering around here." And she's like, "Oh, you're an asshole. I don't have to help you." And he's like, "Wait, I'm sorry. Um, I'm looking for my room. It should be right here, but I don't see it." She's like, "Oh, I'll just show you where it is." So she takes him around the corner, shows him where his room is. The next night, or the next day, I guess, he goes out to spread his ashes at this old red tree that his parents took a photo in front of, and says a lot about his feelings towards his parents. He like carefully spreads his mother's ashes and the roots of the tree like all around, and then he picks up his father's and he just kind of dumps it out. He's like, I don't care. As he's walking away, he sees a homeless person, an unhoused person who's been living in his van in the woods. Jerry. Jerry is he drinks milk that's been laced with mushrooms, psilocybin, LSD, psychedelics. He drinks this milk, and that makes him feel better about trauma that he's suffered in his past. He also has a bottle of moonshine, which he shares with they bond over mutual distaste for this person who works security at the hotel, Fergal. When we first meet Fergal, he has shot a goat with a dart gun that looks it looks like a what's it called? Some kind of crossbow. He shot this goat, and Ohm says, "You couldn't have just like scared him off." And he's like, "Nope, goats are stubborn. They'll come back." They get on the cars, they scratch up the paint job. Like, you can't just shoot them off. And he's like, "Have you tried a water hose?" And the security guard just looks at him and is like, "No." So they bond over, Jerry and Ohm bond over this shared distaste for Fergal. They kind of bond, and then Jerry goes back to the hotel. That night, Jerry is telling Fiona about the ending to the Conquistador trilogy. She's like, "It seems really bleak. I don't know if I'm going to read that." I'm like, is there anything that, why would you even want to write that? Like, is there any way that you could write a happier story or have a happier ending? And he says, "Well, maybe when they make the movie, they'll tack on a happy ending for you." And he goes back to his hotel room, but he leaves his voice recorder and he leaves his picture of his mom at the old red tree. And Fiona finds them and goes to give them back to him at his room, which is kind of where the supernatural stuff starts happening. There is a traumatic event at this point, and then Fiona goes missing, and Ohm Bauman feels responsible for it, and he wants to help her find her, whatever he can do. So he and Jerry make a plan together, and then they go into the second act together. And that's kind of where I want to leave it for spoilers. I do want to say that if you like supernatural, if you like psychological horror, please do go check this out. Even if you don't see it in theaters, like, put it on your list, check it out when it comes out on streaming, or if you can rent it or anything like that, check it out from the library. But do check it out at some point. See if you like it. See if you want to see his other movies. See if he's a director that you want to support. Yeah. I'm going to give you guys time to get out of here if you don't want spoilers. Question for the comments. Cozy Horror Girl sometimes will like say what tea she's drinking, or like what drink she's drinking. Would you guys like me to do that? I don't know if I should steal it from her or not. Is it something that you're interested in? All right, go ahead and get out of here. All right, so if you're still here, I'm assuming that you are good with spoilers. So let's get into it. The first act ends with Ohm Bauman trying to take his own life. He tries to hang himself in the rafters of the hotel. Fiona finds his picture of his mom and his voice recorder, and she goes to return it to his room. Albie, one of the bellboys, lets her into his room, and she finds him hanging from the rafters. She finds the file that he used to open the box at the beginning of the film. She uses it to cut him down. He goes to the hospital, and then he comes back. It seems like maybe a week or two later, and he finds out that Fiona has disappeared. The last night she was seen was on Halloween at the Halloween party. Fergal, the security man at the hotel, he saw her talking with Jerry, the unhoused man living in his van in the woods. And so Fergal suspects that Jerry has done something to her. Ohm goes to find out like what Jerry knows, what he's done. He finds Jerry's van. He finds a book of Irish fairy tales that Fiona had shown off at the bar in the back of Jerry's van. And he asked Jerry, like, this is Fiona's, right? And Jerry says, we were friends and I'm worried about her. He says that he was sneaking into the hotel one night and he had a vision of the old, the bell, the service bell from the honeymoon suite started ringing. So he went out to the lobby to investigate it, and he saw a vision of Fiona. She was pointing at the service bell. She was pointing at Jerry. So Jerry suspects that she is probably no longer among the living. He suspects that she is probably dead, and he suspects that she's probably in the honeymoon suite, and that's what this apparition of Fiona was trying to tell him. So he recruits Ohm to come up to the honeymoon suite with them, but while they go into the hotel, Jerry decides that he's going to go and he's going to get the dart gun from the security box, and while he's doing that, Fergal, who's been staking out for him, handcuffs him using the twist handcuffs or the pull tie handcuffs. He knocks him out. He puts him in the back of his van, and then he drives off towards the city to deliver him to the Garda. Ohm, who Fergal had no idea would be there, discovers that he's holding the keys to the honeymoon suite in his hand. He doesn't remember how he got them. He just finds them kind of in his hand. And so he decides that he's going to go up to the honeymoon suite and investigate himself. He goes up and he looks around and he doesn't find anything. He looks through the bed. He looks through the bath. He looks through the office. There's nothing that he can see. And so he lays down in the bed and he falls asleep. And while he's doing that, he has a dream about this rabbit from a TV show that he used to watch as a child, like peeking in at him while he's sleeping. A hand reaches out and grips his leg, and he wakes up to find that Mal, the person working the front desk, is there waking him up. It's still late at night, so he's like, Mal, what are you doing here? And Mal's like, Cobb called me. He couldn't find his key. He thought that somebody might be in the honeymoon suite, and it turns out he was right. You came up to the honeymoon suite. So Ohm is like, well, I didn't find anything, so let's get out of here. And he goes to exit, but he notices an old dumbbell waiter that he didn't see before, and he goes to push the button, and Mal stops him. He's like, there's nothing here. Like, let's go. And Ohm is like, oh, okay. And Mal releases him, and then Ohm pushes the button on the dumbbell waiter, and it rises up and it delivers Fiona's dead body. She has been placed in the dumbbell waiter. Mal killed her, placed her in this dumbbell waiter, and she is no longer among the living. Jerry was correct. Fiona is dead, and it is Mal's fault. From here, it very much becomes like a haunting in a hotel room. There is a seemingly literal witch. There are seemingly literal ghosts. And Mal is trapped up in this room and cannot escape it because of the lock on the door, the elevator, and the bars on the windows to keep anyone from getting in or out. So I don't know if I've talked about the basement there is the dumbbell waiter that Ohm finds Fiona in. He removes her body. He puts it down in a chair. He is going down in the dumbbell waiter when he hears on the voice recording that the button at the bottom is broken. So he takes the clock that has a little striking mechanism and he rigs it up so that it will call the elevator every few minutes. I think it's supposed to be every hour, but it seems to happen every few minutes. So I don't know if the clock is just like supposed to go off every 30 minutes or what, but it just goes off constantly. So he rigs this thing up. He goes down into the basement. He finds this chalk and this chalk doorway. He picks up the chalk and he goes to leave, and he is followed down this. It looks like a mine shaft, like some kind of old tunnel or something. He's followed down the tunnel by this witch, and it, for all intents and purposes within the movie, is an actual witch. It's not a metaphor, but it is also a metaphor. But this witch chases him down the hallway. She emerges from this shadow where the chalk doorway once was. He escapes in the dumbbell waiter. He's looking down the dumbbell shaft after it delivers him up and then retreats, and the witch crawls up the shaft after him. So there's a confrontation later in the movie where he goes down to the basement to escape from Mal. Mal follows him down to the basement, and the witch comes and shackles both of them. So she's shackled Mal because he was trying to take from her, and I think that she just shackled Ohm because he was in her domain or something like that. But both of them are shackled, and this doorway at the end of the hallway opens, and there are these shadowy figures with these silver eyes inside. It looks very cool. Like, I love this visual a lot. Mal is pulled into this doorway. Something bad is probably going to happen to him. Ohm has a vision of his mother coming to embrace him. And he just whispers, like, "It was an accident. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. It was an accident. I didn't mean to." And she pats his chest, and he feels the file that he used to open the box at the beginning of the movie, and that Fiona used to cut him down when he tried to take his own life. And he finds that in his jacket pocket, and he uses it to cut himself free. And then he escapes up the dumbbell waiter, and by now the door is open and the elevator is running, and so he's able to escape from the room. However, Mal has rigged a fire in the bottom of the hotel in order to destroy all evidence of his crimes, and so Ohm gets out of the elevator and passes out. Fergal at this point returns to the hotel seeking Jerry, probably. He finds it on fire. He goes searching to see if Mal or Jerry are there, and he hears Fiona calling to him. And he goes to investigate, and he finds Ohm lying on the ground. And he picks up Ohm and takes him to the hospital. I completely forgot to talk about Albie very much earlier, but Albie shows up at the hospital to talk with Ohm. Earlier in the movie, they have had a confrontation. Albie is trying to be a writer. He's an aspiring writer. He has a manuscript in his locker. He's like, "Is there any chance that I can get you to look at this manuscript?" And Ohm is just cutting and abrasive, and he actually assaults Albie. He takes a spoon from the bar and he heats it up in one of the Halloween candles, and then Albie's like, "Would you mind taking a look at my manuscript? Is there any way that, like, you can tell me if it's good or if I can touch it up or anything like that?" And Ohm takes the heated spoon and he pushes it to the back of Albie's hand, and Albie pulls away. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And Ohm says, "If you want to be a writer, you need thick skin." So Ohm has assaulted Albie previously, But Albie shows up at the hospital room to kind of say, I thought you might be lonely. I didn't think anybody else would be here. I just wanted to come and make sure that you are all right. And he says, I'm sorry. I think that this all might have been my fault. And Oma's like, what do you mean? How would any of this be your fault? And Albie says, well, I was mad at you for assaulting me. So I took some of Jerry's mushroom powder and I put it into your flask. And we've seen Ohm drinking from this flask of whiskey throughout the night. So he's been taking psychedelics all night. And that is partially used as an explanation for why he's seen the ghosts, why he's seen this witch, why he's been seeing these apparitions, why he's been seeing this rabbit from his childhood, all of this stuff. And he kind of comes to terms with himself. Not only that, like, the supernatural might exist, but that he is also partially responsible for this experience because of his guilt. Jerry earlier in the movie has said, all that supernatural stuff is real. It's not hokum. It's real, but if you're too close-minded, you can't experience it. You can't see it because you won't open yourself up to it. And the drugs are implied to have opened him up to this experience. So there's two things that I kind of want to talk about. The first one is I know that there's a huge cottage industry on YouTube. There's probably going to be a bunch of like Hokum ending explained, where they debate like, is the ghost real? Is the witch real? Is the apparition real? All of these things. And I think my interpretation of the movie is that, yes, all the supernatural stuff in the film is real. There is really a witch. There is really an apparition. There is really a ghost. However, I think it's operating on multiple levels. I think that within the story, all of this stuff is real. I think it's also a metaphor for Ohm's own trauma. Like most good psychological horror is, like Pyramid Head is. Like, he is a literal entity within the town of Silent Hill, but he is also operating as a metaphor within the story. And they are also like, they're there for the plot. They move the plot around. They do things within the plot. They literally exist, and also they operate on this level of psychology, and also just on this idea of like the hotel being built upon this tunnel. So they've literally built something on top of old history. So these old folk tales, these old fairy tales, these Irish supernatural entities, they exist within the world of the film, and also are as a metaphor for the main character's psychology, and also are a metaphor of like the old ways being paved over by new civilization. So they're operating on multiple levels. It's like The Shining, where the ghosts they're real within the story, but they're also psychological, and they are also metaphors for whatever you want them to be. The genocide of the Native Americans, the horrors of conquest, the horrors of settlement, all of that stuff. So whatever metaphor of the old world you want to bring to it, I think that it works in this case. So if you see one of those Hokum ending explained videos where it's like, are the ghosts real? Are the ghosts not real? I think that the answer to both of those questions is yes. They are both real in the sense that they inhabit this world, and they're not real in the sense that they're acting as metaphors of both the world building and of the character psychology. The second thing that I want to talk about is kind of the theme of the movie for Ohm's character, which is the idea of the bleak ending. I think that this is kind of a meta commentary about horror and about like many genres at this point, of like the bleak ending being the only option. It seems like what's his name? Damian McCarthy. It seems like Damian McCarthy is making a statement about like fatalism as a writing device, because it is something that comes up. It comes in cycles where every like every so often there is a trend of authors just seeing the bleakness of the world and being like, well, this is what I want to write about. I want to write about fate or destiny or circumstances bringing this tragic ending about and pushing these characters towards this ending. And the narrative of this movie is kind of saying, no, we have choices. You can make a choice to not do that. You can make a choice to deny the bleak ending. You can make a choice to, cut yourself free of the chains. You can make the choice to escape from your own personal hell. There is always a choice. And I think that that is a more mature lesson than just like sometimes fate brings you to a bad ending. Sometimes circumstances bring you to a bad ending. I think that you have the ability to make that choice, to pull yourself out of the dumbbell waiter, to find a way out of those circumstances, to make it out of the fire. I think that that's a more mature ending than the bleakness that was like set on at the beginning of the movie. And so at the end of the movie, you see him opening up his word processor and typing out a new ending. And the new ending is a bit more like emotional. It's a bit happier. It's not as bleak. It's not as fatalistic. And I think that it is a more mature ending. Of course, you can't just like tack a happy ending on, like he suggested earlier in the movie. But writing doesn't have to follow a path. I think I've talked about this a few times now. I'm thinking of ending things. There's a meta movie that the main character watches, and then later he's talking about it with his imaginary girlfriend, and she's like, everything is planned out, but nothing is thought out. And I think that you can make that argument about a lot of genre fiction, a lot of genre horror, where they'll obsessively plan out, this is going to be the kill, this is going to be the monster, this is going to be the set piece, this is going to be the big climax. Like everything will be planned out, but nothing will be like thought through. And I think that this movie has done a good job of like thinking through what it wants to say and how it wants to say it. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you guys saw this movie, tell me, what did you think of it? Did you guys interpret it in a certain way? Did you guys think that the ghosts were real or not real? Did you guys think that the ending was too cheesy? Did you think it was too happy? Tell me what you guys thought. Am I right? Am I wrong? Are my takes bad? All that stuff. Do you guys want to hear about what I'm drinking? If I'm drinking warm tea, or if I'm drinking Gatorade, or if I'm drinking hot cider or whatever, all of that stuff. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining me for another night of Talks About Something for probably far too long. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Good night.